The Wildcats are back on the road to face the Lumberjacks of Stephen F. Austin. I'm Max Preston.
And I'm Grant Boone. We'll recap last week's conference opening victory against Houston Baptist and preview tonight's game against SFA. It's the Adam Dorrel Show right now. Welcome to this week's edition of the Adam Dorrel Show from the JMC Network studios on the campus of Abilene Christian University. I'm Grant Boone alongside senior journalism major at ACU, Max Preston, and the head football coach at ACU, Adam Dorrel. The ACU Wildcats began Southland Conference play last week with a 38-13 victory on the road at Houston Baptist. Coach, this is 2 lopsided victories in a row for your team. For a group of young players still learning what it means to win at the Division I level, what has this done for your team's confidence level?
I think it's done a lot. We've definitely seen growth in those areas, and the kids are having fun and competing on a daily basis. And when you're starting to see the plan you put in place, 2 years ago, it's kind of come around full circle. It's a lot of fun.
So, Coach, you're on the road again against Stephen F. Austin. People think that playing at home really gives them an advantage, but what perks do road games have? And I mean, especially if you're able to get a win.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. You get to spend a lot of time together, quality time together as a program. And I think anytime you're together and you're building a relationship and you're practicing one-on-one communication, whether it's coach to player, players to player, I think there's a lot of things you can gain from that. We try to do a lot of really cool things on the road. We try to travel first class, eat good food, guys like that, especially football players, and stay in nice hotels and really give them some downtime when they're there to kind of recuperate from the long week leading into the game.
All right, so 1-0 in the conference, 1-0 on the road. The Wildcats will try to go 2-0 in both of those categories. We will preview that game against Stephen F. Austin a little bit later on in the show, but when we come back, highlights and the coach's analysis from that big conference opening victory at Houston Baptist last week. This is the Adam Dorrel Show. Glad you're with us. Welcome back to the Adam Dorrel Show. Last Saturday night, the Wildcats began the Southland Conference season with a rousing victory over Houston Baptist. Here with the highlights, Madison Kreitz.
The Houston Baptist Huskies welcomed the Wildcats to their first Southland Conference meetup of the season with an 80-yard pass from quarterback Bailey Zapp to wide receiver David Racine. After a quiet game last week, Billy McCrary had an open run after catching a 5-yard pass from Luke Anthony to give the Wildcats a 1-point lead of 7-6. While it seemed like the Huskies had momentum to keep delivering points, the ACU defense was able to show up with a hard hit, causing a fumble from Drayshawn Miniweather and giving ACU back the football. 2 minutes after the HBU fumble, McCrary loses control of the ball, giving the Huskies a chance to stop another Wildcat scoring play. McCrary looks to redeem his drop pass in the second quarter with a 5-yard touchdown run to give the Wildcats a 14-6 lead, closing out the first half. With a strong end to the first half, ACU comes out kicking with a 67-yard pass to wide open Chase Coakley, advancing the Wildcat lead. Taylor Williamson takes this opportunity for his season debut and kicks a 49-yard field goal for the Cats. Right at the end of the third quarter, Kaylin Sadler also comes out of the woodworks to catch a 17-yard pass, bringing the score to a solid 31-6. The fourth quarter starts out with another Wildcat touchdown, this time by Tyrese White, who ended the game with 118 yards. Wanting to cut the ACU lead, the Huskies scored their second touchdown of the game with an 8-yard run by Miles Lewis. ACU comes back home with a win of 38-13.
Madison, thank you. 38-13, the happy final score from Houston Baptist. Coach, let's start at the very beginning. You game plan all week, you put all the plays in, you practice, you're fired up, you get ready for conference season, and 43 seconds into the game, you're down 6-0. I'm curious the emotions. Are you mad? Are you trying to stay calm? What's going on down on the sideline?
You know, it's kind of like the Angelo State game.
Yeah.
I quickly turned around and looked at the sideline, and I knew we were going to be fine just because guys weren't panicking. And
it can rattle some teams.
yeah, it can, absolutely, especially when, you know, the play was over a sophomore, young guy, young player, and I was really proud of him. Coy came back and played a tremendous game, which doesn't surprise us. He's a hyper-competitive kid, but no, it was great to see us go down and answer, and I really think that calmed, you know, everybody down, and then we really took control. But again, anytime you can have adversity and learn from it and grow, man, we'll take it.
Yeah, so Coach, you mentioned, you know, you scored right after they scored the 80-yard touchdown, and that was McCrary with a 5-yard pass from Luke Anthony. And then after that, in the second quarter, he comes back with a 5-yard rushing touchdown of his own. Was McCrary really a guy to get your team hyped up on the sideline?
Yeah, he did some really good things. I thought Billy had a really good week of practice, really good week of preparation, and our coaches, I think, are doing a really, really good job right now of game planning for him and game planning for Tracy, playing to their strengths. And, you know, now you start throwing Tyrese in there a little bit into the mix, and I think it's just going to help us be more dynamic on offense. But certainly Billy's been a game changer for us.
Billy was part of a tremendous rushing attack. You go 46 rushes, Coach, for 335 total yards. But something jumps out at me. You had 15 rushes in the first 3 quarters for 3 yards or less. It may not look like an important play. Only got a yard, only got 2 yards. But then you break 2 50-plus yarders with Tyrese White. That's probably not a coincidence, is it? You keep running it even when you're not getting big chunks.
Right, it is. And in our offense, everything's predicated around running the football. And so there's a lot of things you're trying to do early in the game. You're trying to set play action passes up. You're trying to set counter runs up. You're trying to set pitches off runs that you run something in the first quarter out of the same formation, then you're pitching the ball the other way in the second quarter, third quarter. And so, yeah, everything we do, it builds upon each other, and every play has a sister play, a brother play, and we look at what they're doing. And I think our coaches are doing a good job of seeing what the teams are doing to our initial fronts in the first 20 plays, and then we adjust and go from there.
You kept us, you know, guessing in the run game, but also, you know, it's kind of hard to tell who's the top guy receiving-wise. So, you know, last week against Angelo State, Fink has a big game. Then Coakley has a big game with a 67-yard touchdown pass this week. So, you know, when you get DJ Fuller back, can you see your core really being dangerous going here from here on out?
We do. We feel really good about those guys. I would throw a guy in there too, Kalen Sadler. But bottom line, the thing that I'm very proud of is I feel like those guys are being very unselfish right now, whether it's running backs, the wide receivers, really playing off of each other. And again, if you can spread the football around, if you can be diverse between run and pass, and then after that, who's running it, who's catching it, I think it's just a force multiplier, and I think it makes it really hard for you to defenses to prepare for you. So you're kind of seeing that come to light, and it's exciting for our players, and it's exciting for our coaching staff.
When I look at your defense, Coach, you gave up 10 points against Angelo State. The defense did. Yeah. They scored 24, but special teams, and they had a pick 6. And then the first-team defense gives up 6 points against Houston Baptist. That's a Houston Baptist team that scored 34 against McNeese. It's hard to think that your defense could play a whole lot better than what they play. They're playing with a lot of confidence,
yeah, they are.
Like.
They're playing with a lot of confidence. Again, you know, we played 12 defensive linemen. None of them played over 32 snaps. And so when you're rolling guys in there, and I mean, when a defensive lineman can get off the football, when they're not tired, when they're being extremely violent with their hands and playing hard, man, it's a good recipe. And then, you know, again, we played about 8 guys in the back end, but we're not giving up a bunch of big plays, and I feel like our guys are playing really hard and played smart football.
So, Coach, you know, Jeremiah Chambers been a big guy for your defense. He got 2 fumble recoveries in the game. He also got 8 tackles, 2 for a loss, and a sack. Just, you know, describe his meaning to your team so far this year.
Yeah, we're very proud of him. Again, he's a young man that comes every day, brings his lunchbox. He prepares very well, has a big heart, big motor, and just kind of an inspirational leader for our defense. So, again, we're not surprised that he's doing the things he's doing just because he's really worked himself into that position, had a great offseason, and he plays really, really hard. And in my experience, anytime a defensive guy, especially a linebacker, plays with a lot of energy, a lot of juice, usually good things happen.
Juice. Jeremiah Chambers. There you go. Coach, finishing up, just a thought about this game. We did get to see some new faces. We hadn't seen Cole Clayman before, and he had a weird injury in the fall camp. And we got to see Robert McKnight as well. These are guys with a lot of ability that you're going to need it, whether it's this season or coming seasons. You're going to need these guys.
Absolutely. Cole, we just got back Thursday, and so he got a few reps on Thursday, and we did a little bit more than we usually do on a Friday with him. And you know, the thing I'm very proud of with Robert, he continues to learn the offense. It's so much different compared to his high school and junior college. And then Robert, he's not going to open the stat sheet, but he played tremendously well on special teams, had a lot of energy, and made some good tackles on special teams. So, again, just that youth coming through and guys continuing to do their 111th.
We got a win streak. 2 in a row.
I like it.
Let's just keep it going.
23.
2 wins in a row now for ACU, and most important, 1-0 in the Southland Conference. They'll try to go 2-0 tonight when they take on Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches, Texas. They're in the Piney Woods of East Texas. We'll preview that game a little bit later on as we go to break. Take a look at scores from around the Southland Conference last week. This is the Adam Dorrel Show. Glad you're with us. Welcome back to the Adam Dorrel Show. In just a bit, we'll preview tonight's game against Stephen F. Austin. First, with a look at what's happening around the rest of the ACU sports world, here's Max.
Thanks, Grant. We start with volleyball as the team played in its final tournament of the season last weekend in Dallas. The Wildcats played both their matches on Friday, facing LSU early in the day and SMU in the evening. ACU dropped the game against LSU 3-1 and also fell to SMU 3-2. J.C. Smith totaled 24 kills in the 2 matches, and Kennedy Shellstead earned 9 blocks. The team was scheduled to start conference against Lamar on Thursday. We go to the soccer field now as they began their conference matchups with Houston Baptist last Saturday and lost 1-0. The lone goal came from HBU's Jessica Nevels on a sudden death overtime winner. Rachel Johnson made 3 saves for the Wildcats but couldn't hold up on the 4th shot. The team was scheduled to face Southeastern Louisiana Friday evening. Finally, the cross-country team ran its second meet at Texas Tech last Friday. Kevin Kipkoski performed well again for the men, finishing 2nd overall. Carnley Graham also finished highest for the women in 4th place. As a team, the men finished in 4th place while the women placed 3rd. Both the men and women were next scheduled to run in the Texas A&M Invitational. This week, we saw a big rushing performance by the football team, posting 335 yards. Madison had the opportunity to talk with running backs Tracy James and Billy McCrary. Madison?
Thanks, Max. So this past weekend was a strong game for the ACU offense, but an even stronger game for some of our running backs. Tracy James was just one of those running backs. So Tracy, you led the offense in rushing with 19 carries for 125 total yards. So coming into the game on Saturday, was the focus heavily on running, or was it just based on how well y'all started out?
It was really just based on finishing runs for me. I wanted to finish runs and let not just Houston Baptist know, but the rest of the conference know that I'm trying to be one of the top backs. So it was just a reputation type of game for me.
So how important was the offensive line in helping with those rushing offenses?
It was very important, like 3rd downs and 4th downs. It wasn't just me out there. It was the offensive line, the tight ends, the fullbacks, even the wide receivers, they were blocking downfield. So really, it was not just the offensive line, but the whole team as a whole.
Earlier, we caught up with Billy McCrary and asked him what he thought the offense did well this Saturday. Take a look. So Billy, you had a great game with 10 carries, 2 of them actually being touchdowns. How was this week's defense being HBU different than the past 2 weeks?
I mean, every week's different, like you said. It depends on what form we're going to get, what looks we get. Every single week we have a different game plan coming in, and I think the coaches do a good job of figuring out like what the tactic is, the best attack that, and exploit some of the weaknesses and defenses that we can find.
Tyrese Wright also was great this week, and he was able to keep the backfield kind of unpredictable. What other parts of the offense really helped y'all make a successful running?
I mean, Tyrese has been doing great. It's always good to see him. He got a nice stiff arm. I haven't seen that go all over Twitter right now, so that's nice to see that. I mean, I think we have a lot of weapons this year, so that's very nice. I mean, talking with Coach, that's something that we didn't know if we had a lot last year, or we did. We didn't like show it at times. So having different people that can touch the ball, you don't know who's going to get the ball. We have 3 backs that can get the ball. We have receivers that can make plays. So it's not a lot of weapons this year.
Thank you so much, Billy. So Billy talked about Tyrese White and how he helped out the offense this week. How did you think he did?
I think he did phenomenal. He always comes and asks me and Billy questions, so I know he was ready when he went out there, and he knew exactly what to do.
Well, thank you for making time for us. Max, we're going to send it back to you.
Thanks, Madison. Well, that's all we have for this week in ACU Sports. Until next time, I'm Max Preston.
Welcome back to the Adam Dorrel Show. Take a look at today's schedule around the Southland Conference. An enormous game in Thibodaux, Louisiana, as Sam Houston State visits Nichols. Both teams are coming off a loss last week, and it's even more urgent for Nichols because their loss was in conference to McNeese. It's another game. Those McNeese Cowboys on the road at number 25 BYU. All BYU did last week was go to Madison, Wisconsin, and beat the number 6 Badgers. All right. Focusing on tonight's game, ACU at Stephen F. Austin, a purple palooza with a whole lot of purple in the house there in Nacogdoches. This is the 19th meeting between these two teams going back to 1973. Coach, as you look at Stephen F. Austin, and as I try to get a read on them, they've had a stormy offseason. Their coach, Clint Conk, resigned back in August, an off-the-field situation that was undisclosed. They have an interim head coach in Jeff Bird. They then had that storm that wiped out their game against Tarleton State. They've only played 2 games. Right. One was against an SEC team on the road that almost any Southland Conference team would struggle to win. I'm having a hard time getting a read on them. How difficult has it been to try to figure out who they are this year? Yeah,
it is. It's tough, Grant, just because you would like to have 3 films on them for your breakdowns, offense, defense. It is extremely difficult. I'll throw another thing in there. It rained down in San Antonio pretty much the entire game. So it's just hard to see, but the one thing that really stands out, very apparent to our players and our coaches, they're very athletic. They're going to be a top athletic team in the Southland Conference. If you look at their O&D lines, their back end is phenomenal. They play 6 linebackers. Those dudes run around and have some really good skill players, good receivers, 2 really good quarterbacks. So I think the thing that really just grabs your attention right away is their athleticism.
So, Coach, talking about the defense for them, they returned Trenton Gordon, and their defensive backs are pretty talented, especially from last year.
Yes.
Are you finding yourself really game planning for the defensive backs this week?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that they do. Number one, they have a safety. You need to know exactly where he's at. A lot of times he'll tell you what they're trying to do through coverage and through blitzes, and so we've got to pay attention to that. They have a very good defensive lineman who's going to draw a lot of attention from our offensive line. So we've got to do some things to try to mitigate the damage that he does to us a little bit. But I think the big thing for us is they're very diverse. They base out of a 3-3 stack. They try to blitz. They try to get a lot of pressure. They try to get you into 3rd and longs. I mean, that's what they're trying to do. They're blitzing you on 1st down, 2nd down, just to try to get you to 3rd and long. So we've got to be able to pick up the blitz, and quite honestly, when they do blitz, you got to try to make them pay for it. So that's things we've been focusing on this week in practice.
Let's go to the other side of the ball, your defense against their offense. You mentioned that they have a couple of good quarterbacks. They played 3 last week. I'm not sure which one you're prepared for. Foster Sawyer was at All Saints right before Luke Anthony was the quarterback there in Fort Worth. Offensively, what do they do that can give opponents problems?
Well, again, it goes back to the lack of film. They have a new offensive coordinator, and so you've only had 2 films on him. Philosophically, they're a lot different than they were last year. They're trying to line up and smash the football a little bit. A lot of inside zone, outside zone, a lot of bootlegs off of them. As far as the quarterback, what we saw is potentially that he had an injury. So, again, we don't know if he's going to play or not, so we got to be prepared for all 3 of those guys. But they're just so different than they were last year. Again, the things that are scary is their ability to play action and go deep to those receivers that are very tall, rangy young men that are good athletes. So we're going to have a huge challenge in front of us. We've got to tackle really well in space to try to not give up big plays.
Because their game with Tarleton was canceled, this is going to be their home opener. So you got to believe you're going to get their best shot.
Absolutely.
It's ACU against Stephen F. Austin. Kickoff is at 6 p.m. in Nacogdoches. Jim Reese and I will have the radio broadcast beginning at 5:30 on the ACU Sports Network. For Max Preston, for Coach Adam Dorrel, I'm Grant Boone. Thanks for watching the Adam Dorrel Show. We'll see you right here next week.